Does anyone have a question? Yes.
I do. I have a question, Stuart. We were talking a lot about forgiveness in different opportunities. And I wanted to ask, when we're facing someone who's acting in a bad way, who's cruel, who's lying to us, who's taking advantage out of us, how can we, inside this situation, in this moment, how, if I cannot find the energy to forgive right away, what should I do with all the hard feelings that I have?
Well, look, I answer this question a lot to people, and it's a very important one because we all meet people like that. And the answer is very simple. That person is reminding you that you really have to grow inside yourself. That person, in his own strange way, is like a teacher to you, telling you you haven't built the inner strength, the balance yet, to be able to deal with that kind of energy. And in that particular moment, you're not going to be able to do it. But it's a reminder that you need to really do deeper work on yourself. So don't be angry at the person. I mean, they're really sent to you by a higher energy to teach you this. I've had this all my life with people, and it's not easy, but they just remind me, please try and sit still. They just remind me that I have to get stronger. I have to grow. And I can't be angry at them because most people do these things unconsciously, They're not vindictive, that they just are products of emotion, products of mind, products of anger that's so deeply rooted in them that comes up. And they do it unconsciously. But if used in a positive way by just saying, okay, I can't deal with this right now. And, but I have to get stronger. I have to get to a place inside myself where this kind of energy doesn't disrupt the balance of my life. That is inner work. And that person is reminding you that you have to do it. If you use it that way, it's much easier to get through those kinds of situations. Otherwise, they lead to tension, fighting, arguments, screaming, yelling. And it's a war, and nobody wins, Everybody just wastes their energy. Please, everyone, try and sit still. It's really important, to sit still. And I'll give you an example, okay? I'll never forget this, and I've talked about this a lot, but it really is something directly out of my life. Many years ago, when I was studying with my teacher, he bought a place up in the country, in a place called Big Indian, New York, where we were running an ashram there. And he had bought it, and maybe about a month and a half later, I went to him and I said, Rudy, I'm really tired, because I had been really working hard that winter. And can I go up to Big Indian and maybe take 3 or 4 days? And he said, Stuart, that's what it's for. Just go, So I went up, to Big Indian. I took a bus up there. I got off the bus. I walked the road up the hill there to where this, ashram was. I found a room. I unpacked my stuff. And I said, don't just sit around. Find something to do that you can use your energy for, something constructive that can help. So I look out the window and there's a yard there, maybe an acre, a lot of space where the grass probably hadn't been cut in 3 years. There's also there a tractor with one of these grass cutting machines attached to it. And I said, well, there's something you can do. So I went down, I got on the tractor, I started driving this tractor, and cutting the grass. And I can feel my tension just kind of going away. Well, all of a sudden I hear somebody screaming at me from the other end of this ashram. And he was the manager, and he was basically a friend of mine, this guy. Comes running, screaming at me. Bah, bah, bah. And I'd been there 20 minutes and I'd already done 50 things wrong. So I got off the tractor and we were standing like nose to nose, this guy. And my usual response to that would be to get into a big fight with somebody. And I said, no, Stuart, just keep your mouth shut and listen to him. Because my teacher used to talk about this a lot. And I just listened to him. And he went on for about 5 to 8 minutes. And finally just completely exhausted himself. And he looked at me with tears in his eyes. And he gave me a big hug and he said, thank you, Stuart, for listening to me. It wasn't anything personal against me. He was so tied up in himself. He just needed a release of that energy. And I'll never forget, he just gave me a big hug. He had tears in his eyes. He said, thank you. And I looked at him and I said, God bless you, I said, you have just taught me an invaluable lesson. So we need to learn how to interact with people. And we can't be so ready to defend ourselves against somebody else's tension. But listening to people, allowing ourselves to communicate with them is a very big teacher. And I learned an amazing lesson then from this man. And he and I, we were friends. I mean, I knew the guy. And, and we became friends for a long time. And so what I'm saying is that when somebody comes along like that, we have to really mostly just keep our mouth shut and just listen and learn. And if it really disrupts your balance, your energy, then okay, this person was sent to me to teach me that I really have to work on myself. I got to get stronger. And if you get stronger because of that person, I mean, can you imagine all the nonsense that goes on in life? All the crap that goes on? I mean, look, I was 30 years in business, and every day I had to deal with all kinds of insanity being in a business, every single day. And I finally understood, Stuart, you're not even here to make money. You're here to learn how to get balanced while you have to deal with all the greed, the insanity, the stupidity of people when it comes to money. It was a bigger lesson to me than making money, learning how to deal with people like that. I remember once walking into an art gallery in Jaipur, India. When I walked in the door and I was suddenly attacked by 10 guys who saw a white guy walk in the door and I could see dollar signs in their eyes, And I'll never forget this. And I started talking with, I'm looking for this. And I saw a big statue of Ganesh. And I went over there and I put a 10 rupee note in front of the statue, which is something the Hindu people do. And I knew that. And they all came up to me and looked at me and said, are you Hindu? I said, no, but I truly, understand, what it is to have devotion to Ganesh, the elephant god, son of Shiva. And all of a sudden, every one of these people started treating me differently. And by the time I left that gallery, they lined up, 10 of them, to give me a hug and said, thank you for coming into our gallery. 20 minutes before, they were ready to jump on my, try to pickpocket my wallet, And every one of them just got up and they just gave me a hug. Said, thank you, always come here when you're in Jaipur. I did not buy one thing from them. They had nothing in the gallery that was of interest to me, except learning how to deal with that kind of energy. So you got to learn it, and it takes years to learn this kind of thing. But people that come that are difficult to deal with are just a reminder to you that you have to grow. You have to get to a place where you can see life a little bit differently. You can connect with them, and, they're not intimidating anymore. They don't threaten you. I remember another story in India. I'll never forget this. I was at, these very sacred caves in India. I can't think of the name now, but anyway, fantastic places that were from the 6th century, from the Gupta period, these statues of Buddha that were 15 feet high. I mean, it was an unbelievable place. So I'm coming out of this place, and they also had a Hindu place that was, statues of, Shiva and Vishnu and, you know, 15 feet high, and all done back in the 6th century, the 8th century, extraordinary sculpture, extraordinary sculpture. So I'm walking down the hill, and this little guy comes up to me and he shows me this plastic Ganesh. And he says to me, 10 rupees, 10 rupees. And the usual response of a tourist to these people is, get out of here, leave me alone, leave me alone. So I just looked at him and I started to smile. And I said, the thing was probably worth about 2 paisa, less than a rupee. So I looked at him and I said, let me ask you a question. So he looked at me and he said to me, he said, what? I said, how much can I buy you for? So the guy looked at me and said, oh, no, sir, I'm not worth anything. 10 rupees, 10 rupees. And the two of us started to laugh. We just started to laugh. I made best friends with this guy. And he took me down the hill. Not one of these merchants even bothered me. He cleared, it was like Moses, and the Red Sea, I mean, Moses and the one with the sea. I mean, it was incredible. So instead of getting intimidated and people, leave me alone. I mean, I just found a way to make them laugh and we became friends. All of these things are just teachers about how to deal with life. And that if you find the God in somebody, you can turn a situation around. If you don't find the God in somebody, then it's your fault and you have to change. I mean, if political leaders would only learn this, we'd have more peace in the world, They would listen to each other, find what's, the Godhead in each other, instead of constantly fighting each other and threatening and revenge and all this other crap that goes on that does nothing but kill people and hurt the human race. So don't be upset at these people. They are your teacher. They're telling you that you need to grow. You need to be able to find, a way to turn a situation around without, people getting hurt in the situation. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And we all go through this. Everybody goes through this. We're intimidated, we're threatened, we're angry. It happens so much in families, and it shouldn't happen in families because families are really there to support each other. But the fighting, the yelling, the arguing, it happened when I was a kid in my family and I never understood it. And yet I had to defend myself from a lot of stuff. Only later in life, I began to learn that these people are just teaching me, Stuart, you have to grow. You have to get more balanced. You have to develop a stronger chakra system. And then you don't have enemies. You just have teachers. Everybody's teaching us something. We have to be strong enough to listen and learn. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I mean, I used to love to go to India, but the culture was so totally outside of my realm of experience that it really, I was in India about 40 times, and every time I went there, I had to change, I had to grow, I had to learn something new. I had to find a different way of dealing with people when I dealt with them in my ordinary life, because the culture was so foreign and so different than anything that I would experience in the United States. And I used to love to go there just for that, because it really demanded that I had to change. I couldn't come there with my preconceptions and expect people to function according to the way I wanted them to function. I had to listen and learn. And it was incredible how much I learned by just going there and being there. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I hope this is clear, and it could save you a lot of aggravation. Don't get angry. Just be grateful that somebody is teaching you something about you. And mostly it's about what we need to do. We need to get stronger inside, more developed, so we can deal with the outrageousness of other people, you know, without allowing them to rip our lives out of us. Okay, if there are no questions, then have a good holiday. The New Year's coming. I know in Israel, many people don't celebrate this time of the year, but it's the end of a cycle. And everybody's got to somehow feel something. And bless you all. Thank you. This has been an extraordinary year. As I say, like Dickens said, it's the best of times and it's the worst of times, you know? And this year has been that way. It's made these Zoom classes possible. It's allowed me to connect with people all over the globe. And I think that in itself is a total miracle. And God bless you. And there'll be class again Sunday. I'm hoping to see everybody. If you know people that want to attend, they're welcome. Have them get in touch with me and I'll tell them where to go to learn the exercise. And bless you. Have a wonderful evening and hope to see you all on Sunday. Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good Christmas.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Ciao. Bye.